Good morning, guys. Happy coffee talk. Oh man, I hit the snooze twice this morning. I mean, it's 5:20 right now, so I did something right because I got dressed, I got put together and showered and all that stuff, and it's 5:20, so we got here. But I was a little bit tired. I definitely hit that snooze button. Coffee this morning is this Cafe Soleil. So this is my second bag of this, and the first bag I kind of didn't love. This one's actually better. I think it's because the first one was ground and this one is whole bean. And if you haven't got yourself a coffee grinder, I'm not like a coffee connoisseur, despite the fact that this podcast is called Coffee Talk. Definitely not a coffee connoisseur, but I do think that if you grind your own beans, they taste significantly better. So if you want like a small way to upgrade your coffee, I would do that. And you don't need some kind of fancy grinder. Mine's like, a $5 Amazon grinder and it works great. But yeah, this coffee's pretty good. I'm drinking in my Polish pottery mug. Bingo, spring cleanout bingo was so fun. We finished up yesterday. It was a great couple of days. I think everybody who participated got something out of it in terms of something got cleaned or removed from their house. And the whole point of it was just to give you, a little bit of relief, a little bit less chaos, a little bit more clarity towards what you want. And I'm going to be doing some pretty cool things with everybody that participated. So, you filled out a chaos calculator. And so I'm actually going to create 3 workshops next week. And you're going to be invited to the workshop based off your chaos calculator score. So depending on how you scored on things, where you sort of need the most focus, the most attention will make the biggest difference for you. You're going to get invited to that workshop. So it's going to be tailored to you, which I'm really pumped about. And you could attend all 3. But I really want you to attend the one that you're invited to because that's the one that's going to make the biggest payoff. And we can focus on all the things, but generally if we focus on one thing and actually make progress there, then that's what starts to add up. So I cannot wait for these workshops. They're going to be next week. And so people are going to get their invitations this week. And if you did not do a chaos calculator quiz and you would like to come to these workshops, maybe I will put this out to the universe. You could do the chaos calculator quiz and that way I can invite you to it. So I'll put it in the show notes. So even though you didn't get to do spring clean out, bingo, if you would like to come to these workshops, you do have to fill out that quiz. That is a prerequisite because that's how you're going to get invited. But I will put it in the show notes. And so if you want to do that, go ahead and do it. And that way I can include you in the invitation for the workshops. Coffee talk topic today is a funny one. So I'm doing an adventure in 2 weeks and I haven't told you about it. I haven't told you about it because whenever there's something real happening, so I truly share with you my real life. If I'm having a bad day, you know it. If I'm having a happy day, you know it. I talk to you about my problems and what's going on. But sometimes when there's real things that I'm it's coming up, I get nervous and I almost am afraid to share it because it feels big or it just feels like a lot. So I do share it, but sometimes not till right before. So I have something big coming up in 2 weeks that I'm doing. So if you've known me for a little while, you know I have a couple of big goals. And one of those is to climb Mount Rainier. And that is something that has, been in the back of my mind for years. It's something that felt out of reach for a really long time, both for heights, both for physical reasons, my knee, all of these things. And so this year I've been kind of step by step working towards that goal. And in 2 weeks, I am taking that next step. It's actually a week and a half. So it's not this Friday, it's next Friday. I am taking a step towards that goal. And so I'm going to be doing Mount St. Helens. And so I'm going to be climbing Mount St. Helens with some good friends who are very experienced climbers. And I'm also bringing my son, my oldest, Logan. And so we've been putting together gear because we're actually going to be hiking most of the way up the mountain, camping overnight on the frozen mountain, and then summit and then back down. And so this is probably going to be one of the harder things that I've done, mostly because I'm going to be carrying a pack and it's the snow conditions. So the hike itself, I've read during the summer, is probably equivalent to some of the harder hikes that I've done. But this will be a little bit different, again, because I'm wearing a pack. I have to carry all the stuff for the camping and we're staying overnight, which is a challenge. I've never stayed overnight in a cold temperature climate. So that'll be challenging. And then obviously just the actual activity itself will be hard. But I'm really, really looking forward to it. And it is the next step towards Rainier because this is a doable next step for me. I always tell you, get there one doable step at a time, and that's this one. So I'm prepared for this, but it is going to be outside of my comfort zone for a majority of reasons, mostly because of the cold. And so that has been the part that's actually stressed me out the most is the cold. Okay. So because I don't like being cold. I don't like it. I don't mind being out in the snow, but I need to be like dressed for it. I hate the feeling of shivering, and I shiver hard, like body shaking, shivering. And so I don't like that feeling. And so actually the anticipation of the cold is something that I've been thinking about and preparing for. I'm like, okay, what stuff do I need to make sure that I'm not cold? You're going to be a little cold, but I'm talking about sleeping in particular. So I started looking online for a real jacket. So I have jackets for normal stuff, but not a jacket that you could use for this kind of thing, not like a top of the mountain jacket. So I started looking for some jackets on sale, and I found this particular jacket through OR, and it's like a super alpine jacket. Like this is the kind that you need, right? It's basically like wearing a, Sub-Zero sleeping bag as a jacket. And I'm like, this is exactly what I want. And they had two colors. Okay. So they had like a teal color, which was cool. And then they had this yellow color. And I was like, that yellow color is what's up. And this jacket was on clearance. And so those were the only two options because I wanted to get the clearance jacket because they're not cheap. And so this one was like $200 off. So I was like, I got to get this particular jacket. But I had this funny hesitation, which is many years ago, probably 5 or 6 years ago, somebody was selling those. Do you remember those crazy pants? That's probably what the company should have been called, Crazy Pants. But it was actually called like LuLaRoe. Do you remember that? They were like pants that had all sorts of designs on them. It was a network marketing company. And so a couple of my friends were selling these like very soft leggings that had designs on them. Okay. And then they also sold shirts that went with them. And I always tried to support these people's businesses, I'm not a huge fan of network marketing, but I love the people, so I wanted to support their business. So I went over to this woman's house and I got some pants and I tried on a shirt. And I remember she said something to me. She said like, yellow is not your color. And funny enough, ever since that day, and that was years and years ago, I never have bought anything yellow. Never. All from this one comment. This woman said. And she didn't mean anything by it. She wasn't being mean or nasty or anything. I think she was actually trying to be nice and helpful because she was telling me other colors looked great, but she told me yellow was not my color. And so as I'm sitting here looking at this jacket that's on clearance, and it's this bright yellow jacket, it's the one that I like because the teal one's fine, but it's like wasn't like cool like the yellow one, because the yellow one to me was almost like top of the mountain kind of jacket, right? It has that vibe to it, like a red jacket or a yellow jacket would. And so I was like, that's a yellow. I want the yellow one. And it was very hard for me to buy it, all because of this one comment that this random person made who didn't even know me well. She wasn't like a makeup artist or a fashionista. She was just a regular person who was selling these clothes, and that was fine. But she made one comment to me, and it altered my behavior for years around, can I buy or look good in yellow? And so I went ahead and I decided to buy the yellow jacket because I was thinking to myself, well, I like the teal one, looks fine. And I bet, some people might say like that would look good, but I don't like it. I like the yellow one. So I'm buying the one I like, which is the yellow one. So I went ahead and bought it, and it got here last week, and I tried it on. And the very first thing I thought was like, I wonder if I look weird in this color, And I sent a picture to someone, and I was like, do you think I can rock this yellow? And I told her over the text, I was like, somebody told me a long time ago I can't rock yellow. And she was like, oh my God, you totally can. It's a great jacket. And honestly, God, who gives a crap anyways, right? I'm literally climbing a mountain. I bought this jacket to be warm, okay? So it doesn't actually matter. But it's so funny how pivotal one stupid comment can be when we adopt it and we take it on. It wasn't her fault. It was actually my fault. So if we take ownership over these kind of things, which we must, then we can say that I chose to let her comment dictate my behaviors and impact me actually choosing things that I like, right? Because I actually like that color. And so it's funny because I decided to never buy it because I don't look good in it, apparently, from one person's opinion, one day, one place, and I let that impact me. I let that impact me. Now, I wonder if there haven't been things that people have said to you that have impacted you in a certain kind of way. Like you're too chubby to wear that, or that, like I especially around clothes. Clothes are a funny one, because people can be sort of like passively aggressive about clothes. They could be like, that style is just not for you, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, well that style is not for me forever, and you think you look bad in it, and you never buy it, you never go there again. Somebody doesn't know. Maybe they just wanted to say that, or like it's probably not for people with that kind of belly, like people get to tell you, oh, well, you might want something that covers you up a little bit more around your shoulders, because then you won't feel so self-conscious. But you never said you felt self-conscious. They just projected that on you. And now you're like, well, I should feel self-conscious. And it's so funny how these little things, and it doesn't have to be just about clothes and appearance. I think this can apply to, physical fitness too, like around things. Somebody might tell you something like, oh, well, you're just like a little too big to be doing pull-ups. You're probably going to want to be doing over there, and you're like, oh my God, I'm too big for pull-ups. Or like you're like in jiu-jitsu, for example, there's a lot of like body mechanics that determine like how well you can do something, because like if your arms are really long, we can do some kinds of moves better than people with short arms. It kind of evens out, because there's things for the short people and long people, but like there are things that are, particularly if you have long legs, that are an advantage, right? Well, if somebody tells you one time, like somebody with your legs probably wouldn't do that. You're probably going to leave it alone. You're like, I'm not going to work on that thing because I have the short legs. This is sort of like that whole concept of limiting beliefs and like adopting them as identity pieces of like who you are and what you're capable of and what's out there for you. When we adopt these belief systems, even if somebody just said it as like an off the cuff comment, and we adopt them, well, then all of a sudden now we have chosen to let that statement define who we are, what we like, our actions. And we don't need to do that. We don't. Most of the time, we didn't even ask for that feedback anyway. And so I want to challenge you, I guess, today, to think about if there's something like that you've kind of taken on and you've allowed to shape you. And shape your behaviors. Did someone tell you once you're not a good cook? Did someone tell you you're not a fast runner? Did someone tell you that you don't look good in yellow? Did someone tell you you can't wear that kind of shorts, or your hair looks funny that kind of way? And you've adopted that forever and accepted it as reality. And then it actually impacts what you do, because you'd like to do something different, but you just don't, because somebody somewhere one time told you this thing. It happens to all of us. Happened to me. So it's funny because this podcast sounded like it was going to be about climbing an epic mountain, and I'm sure in the 2 weeks ahead you're going to get a couple mountain podcasts. There's no way around it, guys. So I'm sure I'll do at least one more to talk to you about the preparation for Mount St. Helens, and I would love to do one. Actually, maybe I'll record from Mount St. Helens. That would be epic. Okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to take my mics and I'm going to record Coffee Talk from Mount St. Helens and give you guys like that update, because that will be so cool. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm sure I'll talk about it afterwards. But today's podcast really wasn't about climbing Mount St. Helens. It was about this yellow jacket that I bought anyway, and that I think actually looks really good. And I just joked with myself, like, it's the one that's going to get me rescued the best, right? Like, I know I don't want to be rescued off a mountain, but if I was, I would like to be in like bright yellow where I'm easy to spot. But just kidding. We're not getting rescued, but it's got that vibe, right? It's got the adventure vibe, and that's why I love it. And I'm so glad that I bought it anyway. And so I'm challenging you to do something that somebody has told you once that you can't do, and then be pumped about it. And at the end of the day, I don't think that people mean to do this. We allow it. We adopt it. I mean, some people are just passive aggressive assholes, but for the most part, I think people are just like saying shit that they don't need to say. They just need something to talk about, so they just talk, and they just think they should provide you feedback, so they do, and then it ends up impacting you for years and years and years. And so I challenge you to let it go, and do what makes you happy. So That's it for Coffee Talk today. Remember, if you'd like to be invited to those workshops, I need you to fill out that Chaos Calculator quiz. That's the only way you can get invited, is to fill that out. So fill that Chaos Calculator quiz out. I will be sending out invitations to those workshops later this week. And thanks as always for plugging into Coffee Talk. If you haven't done so, subscribe to Fit Me Coffee Talk on your favorite podcast platform. And if you're not a part of our Facebook group yet, go to Facebook, search Fit Me Community, request to join the group, because that is where all of these fun free games and challenges happen every single month. And we've got some good stuff coming up. So hope to see you there. Take care. Bye.